Hello and welcome to step 5 of this tutorial on how to create a WhatsApp clone using Ionic2 and Meteor. In this step, we will authenticate and identify users in our app. Before we go ahead and start extending our application, we will add a few packages which will make our lives a bit less complex when it comes to authentication and users management. First, we will update our Meteor server and add the following packages: accounts base, and accounts phone. Now we will update the client and add the corresponding authentication packages to it as well. Accounts base client side, and accounts phone. We will also need to install their declaration files so TypeScript know how to handle them. Simply install Meteor accounts phone declaration files using Typing's package manager. Let's import these packages in our app main component so they can be a part of our bundle. Now we'll have the ability to verify users using an SMS code. For the sake of debugging, we're going to write an authentication settings file which will make our lives a bit easier, but once you're in production mode, you shouldn't use this configuration. Let's define a settings JSON file in our Meteor project. Inside, we will paste the following configuration. This configuration makes sure we don't have to wait any time at all after each verification. It provides us with some administrative phone numbers which will be valid no matter what, and a master verification code which will always work. From now on, anytime we would like to run our server, we will need to provide this settings JSON file using the following command. We'll now apply the settings JSON file we've just created so it can actually take effect. In the server directory, we'll create the SMS TypeScript file, and inside we'll place the following code. As for now, the SMS verification codes will appear on the terminal in the Meteor logs. If you would like to test it using a real phone, you can use a verification service like Twilio. For authentication, we're going to have the following flow in our application. First, we're going to have the login page, which will ask the user's phone number. Then we're going to have the verification page, which will verify a user's phone number by an SMS authentication. And finally, we're going to have the profile page, which will ask the user to pick up its name. Afterwards, he will be promoted to the tabs page. Before we implement these pages, we need to identify our user currently logged in. If so, he will be automatically promoted to the chats view, and if not, he is going to be promoted to the login view and enter a phone number. Let's apply this feature to our app's main component. First, we would like to bootstrap our app only once the user has finished logging in. And now, if the user have successfully logged in, the root page is going to be the tabs page. And if not, the root page is going to be the login page. Let's import the modules we've just used. Cool. Now that we're set, let's start by implementing the authentication flow we mentioned earlier. We will start with the login page. In this page, we'll request an SMS verification right after a phone number has been entered. Let's create the login component. The plan for this page is simple. We will have an input for the phone number. Once it has been entered, an alert is going to show up and ask if we would like to proceed. To show the alert, we use the alert factory provided to us by Ionic. You can see how we use it in the login method. The methods for using the alert factory might change in the next versions of Ionic 2. As for the current version of Ionic 2 I'm using, which is beta 10, this is how it should look like. We present the alert dialog using the navigation controller. Once we confirm the phone number, we're going to handle the login. Let's look at the handle login method. Over here, we request a phone verification using Accounts API with the current phone number we've just entered. This method will check if the phone number entered is valid, and if so, it's going to print a verification code in the terminal and promote us to the next page. If not, an error dialog is going to show up. Let's implement the login view. And it's style sheet. And as mentioned earlier, every style sheet should be imported. Up next, we're going to implement the verification page. In this page, we'll be verifying the SMS code, and in case of successful authentication, we're going to transition to the profile page. We'll start with the verification component. We're going to get the phone number using the navigation parameter service, and we'll have an input for the verification code. Once it has been entered, we're going to verify it using the verify phone method provided to us by Accounts API. If it has been successfully verified, we're going to be promoted to the profile page, and if not, an error dialog is going to show up. Let's implement the verification view. And it's style sheet. And as always, we'll need to import it. The last stage in the authentication flow would be profiling. The profile page provides us with the ability to enter the user's nickname and profile picture. Since the profile view is responsible for updating the profile, we need to implement its corresponding Meteor method. We will call this method update profile. Let's navigate to the methods file and add the following method. As you can see, we have a new data type called profile. The profile is a simple object which has the fields name and picture. Let's import it and implement it in the models file. Now that we have the right infrastructures for our profile page, let's start implementing its component. In this page, we'll have an input for the username. Once we're done with the editing, we're going to call the update profile method we've just created in the Meteor server. If everything went right, we're going to be promoted to the tabs page. And if not, an error dialog is going to show up. Notice how we referenced an icon provided to us by Ionic as the default profile picture. we need this path to be available to us. Everything that is placed under the www directory will be served as is. Therefore, we can just add a symbolic link which will make all the icons available to be served as public assets. To do so, go to the www directory and inside create the following symbolic link. Now let's implement the profile view template. And its style sheet. Our authentication flow is complete. Let's test it out in our application. As you can see, we start with a login view. Let's enter a random phone number. Now we are at the verification page where we have to enter a verification code. The verification code is going to appear in the Meteor logs. In this case, it's 3357. Let's copy it. And now that we have successfully verified our phone number, we are at the profile page. Let's use my name as a sample. Everything works properly, however, there are some few adjustments we need to make before we proceed to the next step. For the messaging system, each message should have an owner. If a user is logged in, a message document should be inserted with additional sender ID field. So first we'll have to edit the message model and add a sender ID field to it. Now let's make some adjustments in the addMessage method. We're first going to verify if the user is logged in. And we're going to add the additional sender ID field to the inserted document. Now in the messages component, instead of determining whenever the message is mine or not by its parity, we can do so whenever the sender ID is the same as the ID of the current user logged in. So in the messages component, let's add the sender ID field. And edit the ownership determination method to messages we insert. Let's import the Meteor module we've just used. Let's test out the messaging system. As you can see, both messages we've just sent appears as ours, and it is not based on its parity. Now we would like to add the abilities to log out and edit our profile as well, which are going to be presented to us using a popover. Let's show a popover anytime we press on the options icon on the top right corner of the chats view. So in the chats component, We'll import the Popover factory. And we'll import the chats options page, which we're soon gonna implement. And we'll implement the show options method. We'll also need to bind this method to the view. Now let's implement the component for the chats options page, which will handle the profile editing and logging out. Let's implement its view. And its style sheet as well. By default, once you click on the options icon in the chats view, the popover should appear in the middle of the screen. To fix it, we're simply gonna edit the SCSS file of the chats page. Let's see how the chats popover functions in our app. Once we click on the options icon in the top right corner, we have the popover. We can click the profile item, and we're promoted to the profile editing page. And we can also select the logout item. And once we click yes, we are back to the login page. So this is it for the current step. Hopefully you liked it, and see you in the next one.